This video will be the second part of our X-Men under Scott Summers leadership breakdown. This time we're going to be looking through all of the tactics cards, both for the affiliation, plus any individual tactics cards that characters can bring along with them as well. So let's jump into it. Okay, Quinn, so on to the tactics cards. And we wanted to include these, didn't we, as part of this, because they are not as important as the characters we bring, but I would say are still a very, very important part of the game. And sometimes balancing a tactics card with its cost, its opportunity cost, and then also the fact that you know, some characters have access to 2, 3, sometimes even 4 cards they can use. You want to make sure that you've got a nice mix and match, and you want to make sure that you've actually got enough cards that you can take if you don't take that one character who has access to all of them, isn't it? So it's a little bit of a balancing act with tactics cards, isn't it?
I mean, also, there are some cards that just are stapled to the character they belong to, right?
100%.
I mean,
yeah, we
think of like
before.
Rhinobbery and Rhino, right?
Yeah.
Before we knew about that card, he was a very middling C to D, but now upper A, easy.
Yeah, with that card, yeah, absolutely. So let's start off then, because we again alphabetical order, because that's the way that we do them. Starting off with a brand new tactics card for the affiliation, and it is Cerebro. During its activation, an uncanny X-Men character with at least 1 mystic attack and at least 5 mystic defense may play this card. For the rest of this round, the character that played this card increases the range of its mystic attacks by 1 to a maximum of 5. Add 1 die to its mystic attacks, 1 die to its mystic defense rolls. Additionally, attacks do not require line of sight. Ignore stealth superpower for the rest of the round. I believe right now there's only 1 character that meets that criteria.
There are 3.
Who have 5 mystic defense?
Oh, actually, she might just be 4.
I think she's only 4.
That's
Who's
2.
the second one?
Emma.
Oh, Emma?
Yeah.
Of course, Emma as well. For me, Quinn, unless there is something crazy on Xavier when he comes out, I really don't like this card.
It feels like they went, oh, we need a way to make Jean better. Let's make this card. And then they went and made Jean tried to make Jean better anyway, but then hampered how good they made Jean based on this card.
Not a fan. Not a fan whatsoever. Very, very niche. 2, maybe 3 characters, depending on what, you know. You would imagine that Xavier is eligible
Xavier's
for this.
On the art of the card, like, it's going to work for him.
Yeah.
There was a moment where I thought it might work for Magic, but she's only 4 dice. I believe Psylocke is only, like, 3. Isn't she, like, 3 across the board? Maybe she has 4 mystic. She isn't a 5, though. If this had been, like, every X-Men character that fit the criteria for a round, maybe you do like some weird list that's like Emma, Jean, Charles. But
yeah, I'm still not a fan. Still not a fan at all.
No.
I think, you know, and again we will hold in reserve that, you know, when we see Xavier's card, that this may be amazing on him. I just don't see it myself, Quinn. For me, this one is not one that you really want to consider taking, unless
it's addressing a problem that for the most part doesn't exist outside of 1 character.
Yeah,
but 2 doesn't actually do a very good job of addressing the problem it tries to.
Yeah. Some of those things could have been quite cool built into Jean's card, but yeah, as far as, you know, she had an attack that ignored stealth and line of sight all of a sudden, like that's something.
Like,
but
let's be honest, if Jean had a range 5/6 dice builder, she'd be a lot better.
But she doesn't. Charming Faith This one obviously reliant on Gambit, not an X-Men exclusive card. You can take it anywhere. Basically, it gives him the Soul Gem for a round.
It's a nice way to get power on him.
We're under Scott's leadership. Do we really care about generating
even if you're
extra
not under
power?
Scott's leadership,
it's still not very good, is it?
Spending a card for one, it's just for power. Two, it's a card that is directly influenced by your opponent's actions. So can, if they so choose to, do nothing.
Yeah. Or make sure they're out of 4 when they do the things. Like,
or they just kill him.
That's another way. So for me, Quinn, it's another do not touch.
Yeah.
It's another one that is just...
Look, you get enough of these D-tier cards, you can, like, prop up a wonky desk.
Yeah, fair enough. Next up then, another Uncanny X-Men card. Children of the Atom. Any Uncanny X-Men character may play this card. Remove all special conditions from this character. It gains 1 power for each special condition removed. I quite like this.
I really like this card. Typically, it shows up when I'm not taking one of my staples because of, like, crisis or opposition or anything else. Yeah. It's just a nice get out of jail free card for when, like, you know, you get a stagger on your Wolverine or something.
Yeah, we have a similar card for Guardian. I say we, but you know, we have a similar card obviously with Guardians. Does exactly the same thing, but at the back end it's a little bit different. It's
it doesn't do exactly the same thing.
No, but as in it removes all special conditions, but the sort of second part of it is you then can't gain them this round. Which again,
you're paying for it rather than getting power. Which
exactly,
does. However, you get to put that on your whole team.
Yes.
Yeah. If X-Men were able to do that on their whole team, there would be no point in playing any other affiliation. I don't think. Like they just have all. Like they have it all. Like.
Yeah. So I think it's decent. I think for me, it's one that would make my roster up, but it's not something that I'm going to be playing every single game. Again, to your point, Quinn. You know, so I think like solid B tier. You know, down middle of the road.
I'd probably put it like bottom of A. It is good.
Bottom of A. Okay, that's fair. Onto one of Psylocke's card then now. Crimson Dawn. With an allied, Psylocke flips her stat card to its injured side. She may spend 3 power to play this card. Psylocke gains the superpower shown below. Mark of the Crimson Dawn. She gets to place herself within range 1 at the beginning of her activations and gains healing factor 1. It's not a bad card.
It's quite a good card for Psylocke. If I were taking Psylocke, I would take this card.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the context that we have to view these in, don't we? So if you choose to take Psylocke in your roster and in your squad, are you bringing this? Is it stapled to her? And I'd say it probably is.
I wouldn't quite say stapled. I think, there's a hierarchy of stapled cards, right?
She's only got 1 staple in it. We've not double stapled
I think
it.
Like the stapler was just off the mark a bit, and like it's only half stapled.
Fair enough. So I think yes, if you're going to take Psylocke, I think this is a solid enough card to take with her.
It's it's there. You probably take it if you've got room. Healing factor 1 is nice because it then allows her to use some other cards. But yeah, like in the context of Scott's leadership, and also the fact that it's a Psylocke card. Psylocke isn't great in Scott, therefore this card isn't great in Scott.
Yeah. Fastball Special. Pick up Wolverine, yeet him with Colossus. 2 characters who you never played, but Quinn, as we now know from doing the ranking on the characters, this is really nice, Quinn, isn't it? Because gives out an auto bleed, and they get to roll 2 fewer dice
is like the real killer there, because Wolverine is size 3 for throws.
Yeah,
so that's 4 damage coming at someone, and they're rolling 2 less dice.
So it's worth pointing out, Quinn, that this can reduce your dice down to 0, can't it? Because it's a dodge roll and it's not an attack or a defense roll. So somebody only rocking 1 or 2 are going to find themselves in a little bit of trouble.
Some people try and argue that they get to roll 1 dice because you can't reduce dice below 1, but those people would be idiots, wouldn't they, Rich?
They would be idiots, and they would have never said it and edited it out of the video.
One thing I want to mention with this as well is, obviously, Brace is a very common restricted card, right?
It is, yes.
You know what's really fun?
You do this on Emma's
go.
turn. Yeah, because it is not reliant on it being either Wolverine or Colossus's turn. We've seen similar play with Mystique and Juggernaut, haven't we? With Do You Know Who I Am?
Yeah,
it's a similar effect. I think it's solid, Quinn. I think if I'm playing Wolverine and I'm playing Colossus, I can't see a reason why I don't take this card into the right setup and into the right, it's not S tier. It's not an insta take, but it goes in your roster, right?
Card. It 100% goes in your roster. It's a bit of an awkward card because there's a lot of situations where you just can't quite fit it in. It's a very good card, but it kind of forces you into keeping Wolverine and Colossus next to each other, which on some maps may not be the most optimal. And also, it just sort of piles on more damage. Rather than getting you out of a sticky situation, it sort of, keeps the damage train rolling. I'd probably put it just below Children of the Atom. 1, because it is specific to 2 characters, whereas Children of the Atom is faction-wide. It very often ends up being my 6th card in the situations it can be played.
Yeah, I think that's fair. On to, I would say, Quinn, maybe, well, it very much used to be like the reason that X-Men could do, or one of the reasons X-Men could do all of the things that they could do. First Class, at the start of the activation phase, an allied Uncanny X-Men character may play this card. Each Uncanny X-Men character does not have to spend power the first time they interact with an objective token this round. It means that essentially, for pay to flips, that was the big thing with X-Men, you took a pay to flip. A single character had enough power to pick up an extract and flip an objective.
You got to cosplay an Asgardian.
You got to cosplay an Asgardian for a round, but you couldn't use that power on anything else. It was the staple, Quinn, wasn't it? You saw this in every single X-Men list out there because it's what it was built on. It's still very good. Is it as good as what it was? And is there a place for it still in the setup with Scott?
I believe the answer is 100% yes.
I agree.
There are definitely situations where you don't take it, but
yeah. Well, I mean, if you're on researcher and researcher in the non-pay to flip, then it's a little bit pointless, isn't it? But
there's just so many situations where, if you're not on a pay to flip, but you still have extracts that you're going to go and grab, like senators or spider infected or whatever else, it just gives you a free power.
For everyone.
Would you take a card that just went, your entire team gets a free power going into round 2?
Yeah.
I would. And that's what this does.
Absolutely.
It gives Domino an extra power to use for her probability manipulation if she goes forward and she needs to use it defensively. She's not as much of a sitting duck. On hammers, if you've maybe moved Wolverine up a little bit and given him a power, he's not spending a power to pick up that hammer, which means he's got enough power to still have a hammer and do best at what I do for a 6 dice adamantine slash.
Absolutely.
It's a very, very good card. It's not great in every situation, because there are simply situations where it can't be played, or there are some where its impact isn't as great as you'd like it to be, but it's still good.
Yeah. Does it does it still retain its S tier level?
I think it's still S tier. Like,
I think it really is
super good.
I agree. I think it really is. As you say, discounting those situations where you just don't take it. When you do take it, just having that advantage against your opponent round one is really, really good. Logan's, or one of Logan's cards now, got to get some air. When any character ends an advance or is placed within 2 of an allied Logan, the Wolverine, after the effect is resolved, Logan the Wolverine may play this card. He advances his speed away from the character, but he cannot contest objective tokens this round. Again, we're talking about if we're taking Logan alongside Scott. For me, I've never had a great affinity with this card and Logan. I think
love it.
I get it can stop, in the old world where you used to have, big bads, and you had a Malekith, walk up. It could stop. I get that you can manufacture a situation where it can be an allied character that does it, and Logan gets to do things.
Typically, it's an allied character whenever I use this card. Like, to be honest, I didn't know it worked on enemies. I've just read that. But, the play used to be that you took magic, did like a 1 power limbo step to be sort of next to him, and he'd shoot off, and it just gives him a free move.
Yeah.
Getting Logan up the board, he's got that range 3 attack, he wants to be outside of 3 people. It sort of gets the ball rolling for him. It's a solid card, in my opinion. I think it fits into the kind of Crimson Dawn territory.
Yeah, if you're taking him, then,
It probably goes beneath Crimson Dawn just because it is reliant on another character.
Yeah, I think Crimson Dawn is... I also really like Crimson Dawn. I think if you are taking Psylocke, I think it's pretty darn good. But yeah, so Headmistress next for Emma Frost. During Emma Frost's activation, she may spend X to play this card. For each power spent, an allied Uncanny X-Men that is not holding an objective may advance medium. That is irrespective of their normal move. And it is worth saying that this is actually an X-Men card. So it's an Emma-specific X-Men card. I quite like this Quinn.
I would like it a lot more if it wasn't on her activation.
Yes, that does. I think 2 things. Her activation and she has to spend the power. They are, the 2 limiting factors, aren't they, with it? Obviously, it's a bit of a play on, to me, my X-Men, in that sense. In that it gets people around, obviously limited in the fact that they can't be holding an objective, but then it's a medium advance rather than a normal advance, and it's omnidirectional, so it doesn't have to be towards her. It can be nice for repositioning. For me, I like it. I don't think it is a stapled on card with Emma.
It's very much a turn 1 card. I think that's very clear. The fact that you can't be holding objectives makes it pretty turn 1 heavy. A medium move enables a lot of things for characters like Wolverine, like Rogue, that have that charge. It means they get to the midline with their first action and therefore have another follow-up attack. One thing that I really like about this card is the fact that Emma can move herself.
Yes, so because it's an allied, not another allied, which is a key thing. Yeah.
Potentially, you don't have prio. You brought Emma. You brought this card. Your opponent walks up to the midline. Emma walks up. She gets an okay roll into them. Gets even 1 power. Plays this card. Effectively gets a 3rd action on herself. And can move a Wolverine up the board, or a Scott up the board, or whoever else.
Or you get really lucky, Spike, gain 3 power, and all of a sudden
your entire team's moved. Yeah.
You can move everybody up the board, which is brutal, right? Like absolutely brutal. So yeah, where would you rank it then, Quinn, in terms of standing?
I'd probably put it above Crimson Dawn. If it wasn't in her activation, it would be A tier.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
But with it being, on her turn, with the objective limitations, that kind of thing, it's good. There's situations where you will take it, but I don't think it's a build-around card like some others are.
No. And I think it needs to be the right situation. You also need to get a little bit lucky with it as well, don't you? You've got to get lucky with her making an attack. I don't think it's I have priority take card. I think if you've got priority, you don't take it because you're hoping that your opponent has moved forward so you can then move up, make the attack, and then generate the power, aren't you? I think
even if the attack's not being made by Emma, you're doing it with someone else to give her power.
To give her some power. Yeah. Next up then, Quinn, we've got Jean.
Just put it in D.
Let's explain why. Because we speak about...
One, you're playing Jean Grey.
Okay, but we've already said, right? We're playing Jean Grey. Okay, so we have a core...
You're playing Jean Grey.
Core 13 threat. It's reliant on 3 characters. Cyclops will... it's reliant on 2 of the 3 characters to be on the board, which we know Cyclops is going to be because we're playing, this is under Cyclops. But it is so easy to mitigate against. Like, Cyclops has, at most, a range 5 or a range 4 attack.
5, because you are allowed to do the beam off this.
You can do the beam off this. If he's outside of 5, it does nothing. Like, you can't use it. Like, it's just...
Well, no, like, there's no specific target for this card. So unless Cyclops is
That's
stood in
a fair
corner,
point. Yeah, okay.
He can do something. It's just... One, you're bringing a card that only works when Jean is dying, which is what she's doing 90% of the time, yes.
True.
But you're investing 5 threat in a car and a card for that 5 threat to most likely be doing nothing for a round.
I'm putting in below Charming Thief.
Oh, God, can we make, an E tier?
Do you know what? We may have to. Right.
Actually, no, she can go in J tier.
Yeah. Jonathan the Unstoppable. We spoke about how Honey Badger has the ability to actually score VPs, but she does it only by her tactics card. It just costs too much. In terms
First of all, there's an opportunity cost to taking Badger because she doesn't interact with objectives.
Yeah.
You don't rectify that by adding even more opportunity cost in order to let her do a thing that 99% of the characters in the game do normally.
And also
it's a token that goes away.
It goes away, and also it costs her power to play it. Not a card you want to be taking alongside Honey Badger, I don't think, Quinn, is it? No. I can't even think of any real situation. It's better than Jean.
Yes.
It's better than Charming Thief.
Is it?
Maybe not.
I feel like there. On the merit of Gambit being better than Gabby, Charming Thief goes ahead. I think that's how the ordering of these works.
That's fair. Yeah, okay. Journey Through Limbo. This is for Magic. It's non-X-Men specific. I really, really, really like this card. Choose a character, place them, give them Incinerate. Allied or enemy. So you can use it for displacement. You can use it to move somebody off a point. You can use it to move somebody into range of another character that you want to take, to hit them. Can only be used during her activation. I think if that wasn't the case, Quinn, this would be a lot higher up for me in terms of how
it'd be going into A tier if it was non-activation. Much like Headmistress, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's a solid card. I don't think it's stapled to her by any stretch of the imagination, but it's one of those that once you've gone through that process of, okay, here are my absolute must-takes, here are my, restricted cards that I'm going to take, what else have I got?
You've got your variety selection, right?
Yeah, exactly that. I think it's a good variety selection.
Like, this card is helped by Scott's leadership as well. A cost of 3 is relatively expensive for Magic because she is spending power for that Limbo step a lot of the time.
Yep.
So, just having that extra bit of power on her from the leadership just enables this a bit more. Then potentially enables her to gain more power if she's hitting the target that's incinerated. So, it can help her along. I think it probably goes just under Headmistress for me, personally.
Yeah. No, I agree. But I do think you're right, Quinn. I do agree with you that, if either of these could have been used outside of activation, all of a sudden, their value shoots up quite considerably, doesn't it? In terms of what they do. Let's have a look next then at another new card, Mass Transit. Now, I have seen, Quinn, many conversations about this card. When you can play it, what you can do with it, who needs to do what. We're going to break it down as far as we are aware and we know. So, Active Action is a new type of tactics card, but it's not really. It's not. It's just saying that to use this tactics card, it's gonna cost one of your actions. Now I know there's still some conversations going around, Quinn, that obviously Nightcrawler has to spend the power to play the card, but people seem to think that you could use this on Cable's turn, use one of Cable's actions, and Nightcrawler spend 3 power. No.
Those people are dumb.
Just no. You use it on Nightcrawler's turn. Nightcrawler spends the power. He does what he does. I don't like this card, Quinn.
I agree.
My initial reaction was, this is crazy. But I ignored the top part of the text. I just saw Nightcrawler may spend 3 to pay this card. And prior to this card being released, that meant he could do it out of activation, which would have meant this card was bonkers crazy. However, it's got to be one of his actions, and then he essentially loses another action because at the end of it, he's getting stagger. So
he loses an action on his next turn, specifically.
No, specifically his next turn. Yeah, so the opportunity cost, Quinn, is not only a tactics card slot, not only is it 3 power, it is then 2 actions.
Most likely 1, because you're probably running Children of the Atom with this in mind.
Probably.
However, it is rough.
Yeah. So you're having to run another... So then there we go. The opportunity cost is then another tactics card to take. It's just too high.
I think, you're placing 4 characters, range 3, and then 3 of them are, an extra range 1 from that. It's good, but X-Men have a plethora of mobility cards available to them. This isn't, in my opinion, that much better than just, spending 3 power on Headmistress.
Yeah, I agree.
You get a bit further up, but you're not wasting 2 actions.
You're not wasting 2 actions. Now, you do get, I know you said, Quinn, that they place range 3. It's important to note that you could have Nightcrawler further up the board and then 3 characters range 2 behind him. He then moves range 3 and then they can place range 1 in front of him. But even so, it's just too much. It costs too much.
I think also, a big issue with this card is, let's be honest, it's here for turn 1 use, right?
Oh, 100%.
It's very rare that you're going to, bust this out, in the late game to, relocate a bunch of people. It probably is quite good in that instance, but you're, keeping it in the chamber is a very big cost to carry throughout the course of the game. I feel like when you're doing this turn one, you're investing multiple instances of power gain on Nightcrawler to get it off. But two...
So when you say turn, you mean round 1, Quinn, sorry, not turn 1, don't you?
Yeah, round 1.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like, honestly, this card just overexposes your team.
Yeah.
If you want them to be far enough forward that this is worthwhile, over a Headmistress, you're probably overextending. And that's probably not going to end well for you, because a lot of X-Men are quite squishy.
Yeah, it's for me. I'm not a fan, Quinn. Not a fan. And again, that some people cleverer than us could come up with some crazy ways to use it. Right now, I just don't see it, Quinn. It's going in C tier for me.
Yeah, I was very much eyeballing C tier for this. Like, it's a thing.
Do you know what it is, Quinn?
It's a card.
That's bait.
That's bait.
Do my best Tom Hardy Mad Max. That's bait. It's bait because it looks shiny. Oh my god! Move all my characters up the board. How good would that? It's bait. That's what that card is, Quinn.
That Tom Hardy impression is about as good as your Maul. So
yeah. My Maul's very good, actually, and
it's
know
not as good as my Maul, though, is it?
You liar, pants on fire.
I mean, you say this. I have multiple eyewitness testimonies to the fact that mine is better.
Rude. Mental Domination. You can use it on Cassandra Nova, but in this instance, we're going to be using it on Jean.
Are
we? Well, we're not. We're not. I like this card on Cassandra Nova.
Yeah, I like this card on Cassandra Nova.
Yeah, not good for Jean. Again, opportunity cost for her. If you are putting her in your roster, you really don't want to be attaching a tactics card to her as well. The card is good. What it does is good. Being able to advance a character, getting them to attack any other character. This is your opponent, by the way. Is pretty darn good. But yeah, unfortunately, Quinn, for me, I think it goes above Jean. Like, if I had to choose one of these two cards to take, if I was taking Jean Grey...
You're going to take the one that doesn't rely on her dying, yeah.
Yes, that's the one that I will take. Yes, and that is my method of choosing.
Some would call you a madman for that.
I know. Let's get on to Rogue. Mind if I cut in this round when the enemy character is choosing the target character for a non-area or non-beam attack and Rogue is in range and line of sight, the enemy character must pay 1. If they do not, they must target Rogue if possible.
How is it this bad?
Ah, man.
You're
done fucked up.
Why is it not at least 2 power?
I know. Or why, Quinn, is this not lethal protector for Rogue?
Yeah.
Like, why is this not lethal protector for Rogue?
Why isn't this Heroes for Hire, Comrades Keeper? Like, it would have given her a little something.
Yeah. But... Oh, I tell you what, you give her a card like that, her stock goes up. Like,
of course it does, yeah.
Like, it's... Yeah. I'm going to say, Quinn, utterly terrible. Do not take it. D tier. Maybe it goes above Jonathan.
It's better than Jonathan and the Jean card by virtue of being a rogue card.
There we go. Mind Transfer coming up next, Quinn. Another one of Emma's cards. This is the one that she can use anywhere. Obviously, the other one was X-Men only. Again, during her activation, she spends 4 power. Choose an enemy character with an activated token of within range 3 of Emma Frost. Move an activated token from the chosen character to another enemy character that does not have an activated token within 2 of the chosen character. My God. Basically, you've got an activated token and you've gone, you haven't. You've now gone, you haven't. That's the way it works.
Of Emma's 3 cards, this is the worst one.
it's range 3. Like, that really hurts her. You do not want Emma up the board and within range 3 of somebody.
I mean, it being on her activation
doesn't
help. It costing 4 does
not help. How is deception free?
The 2 target characters having to be within 2 of each other doesn't help.
Now, she can move characters. That is,
But just no.
Again, in theory, Quinn, there's some really clever plays you can do with this, right? Like, there could be somebody that you want to attack and, you want to daze, but they haven't activated yet. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's not a big thing. For priority, it really can be. Taking down a character that hasn't yet activated means that your opponent has 1 less character to activate, meaning that, depending on the board state and board setup, you could push yourself from being in a position where you are activating first next round to not activating first. And that can be a big thing in the game, Quinn, can't it? So this card can do some clever stuff, but it's reliant on a lot, and the cost of it is too high.
A lot of hoops. Also, typically, and I say this as an attrition player speaking to another attrition player, typically the first character you activate in a round, Rich, is the one that does all the punching, right?
Yep.
Because then it neuters what your opponent can do back to you.
Exactly that.
Why on earth would you want to give them another go? Why?
That is true. That is true. Because that's thing to remember.
Someone's not going to activate, Honey Badger first, right?
I'm going to go with Toad. I'm going to just leave him on this back point, and over to you. It's again, I like what they were going for, the idea of manipulating things and doing the stuff, but I just think it just doesn't quite hit the mustard. For me, Quinn, it's not D tier. Again, if somebody turned up with this, and they've made it.
If they've got a plan for it, you have to give it a degree of respect for what it can do to you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's rough.
Yeah. So I think C tier is probably
I think,
about
bottom of C. It's edging D.
So Quinn told me for this next one I have to do the accent.
Do the roar.
Do the roar. I can't do it now because I'm smiling as I'm saying it. Pardon me, sugar. That's just going to come off as racist, isn't it? Anyway, pardon me, sugar. I don't know. The people who live in the south of America, I don't know.
I don't think that's a race.
I don't know. Pardon me, sugar. Rogue's activation. She gets to do a whole bunch of stuff, depending on who she's with. We've seen plenty of cards like this, Quinn, haven't we? Kamala Khan has one. Agent Venom has one as well. Depending on who she's with, it does different stuff. But the kicker on this one is that every character is going to take damage. It's really to try and reiterate the fact that she can walk up to somebody, take off the glove, take their power for a period of time, but the effect on them is they're going to take some damage because of it. Now, some of them don't care. Deadpool and Wolverine, for example, they're just going to heal that back up. But for me, Quinn, this is a very meh type of card.
It's a very, I get what they were going for.
It's thematic.
They've kind of oversaturated the card because they wanted to cover a bunch of different bases. I will say the card did get slightly better with the updates.
It did.
Because she takes Optic Blast or Cyclops, and Optic Blast got 2 improvements to it.
Yep. So, better push, and you've got the rapid fire as well.
That's something.
Yeah. Still doesn't keep it out of low C.
Yeah, I think it's worse than Mind Transfer, honestly.
Yeah.
I think someone brings mind transfer, and you're a bit like, okay, but
I think
once
it's bottom
again,
of
you
C.
respect it. Someone
Yeah.
brings Pardon Me Sugar, and you're like, you're playing a meme game.
Which is fine.
You know, you can do.
Psionic Constructs. This is another one of Psylocke's. With an allied character within 3 of an allied Psylocke targets an enemy character with an attack. Psylocke may spend 2. The attack type is now Mystic. The allied character may reroll any number of dice during this attack. It ain't bad.
It ain't good.
Again, it's one of those cards, Quinn, that what it does is quite good, right? Oh, you're within 2 of me, right? And that's the problem, right? But it is a card, and it's a one-off thing. And for me, a tactics card needs to do quite a bit more than this.
Yeah. Like, if tactic cards had their own threat values and you built your little set of cards based on those threat values, this would be one that'd probably be like relatively cheap, and you'd probably try and slot in.
Like a 1 threat, wouldn't it? It'd be a 1 threat card.
It depends on what the threat scaling system is. If it's the same as the characters, it's probably like a 3. But the biggest use of this card is Helios, because you reroll the highest number of dice with it.
Yeah, that's the. It's just a bit, like I say, I love it. It's really cool, but in game, some rerolls, and maybe bypassing a bit of defensive tech.
Like, let's be honest. If you were taking a card for rerolls, you'd probably be better off with Recal.
Recal, yeah. Yeah,
because exactly also that. With Recal, you can use the really cool one that has Domino at the dice table.
And I mean, if that's not enough reason, then I don't even know why we're here.
Yeah,
to be honest with you. Is it bottom end of C or is it top end of D?
I think it goes above Pardon Me Sugar.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where did we put that? Oh, we put that there, didn't we?
Yeah. It's not quite as laughable as that card, but like it's. If you really need a 5th card, sure. But I feel like you've made some poor decisions to get into that situation in the first place.
To me, my X-Men Queen, another Uncanny X-Men card. It's active. You need a leader, so it will work with Scott. It will work with Storm, and we assume it will work with. And they say Magneto, then definitely the wrong one. It will work with Professor X.
Was an X-Men leader.
I mean, he was at a time. He's been there. But basically, that leader spends X amount of power. X amount of characters may advance toward that leader. Now we know toward is never actually in the same direction as you can actually end up further away from the leader than where you started because of how angles and distances work, but no restrictions on objectives on this one, Quinn. And this is where I see it being played a lot, is somebody moving up and grabbing the objective and then using this to get them back into safety.
For me, there are 2 main instances where you use this card. One is, as you said, pulling someone back after they've gone and retrieved an objective, potentially something like grabbing the middle scroll of the opponent so that they then have to come into your territory to get even on VPs. But where I like to use it is where I like to use all of my X-Men cards, which is to make Wolverine better. I like to just move Wolverine forward a little bit, and then he charges people and they die. It's good.
We do like murdering things, don't we? How does it compare, for you at least, to Headmistress? Because this is the card that we were sort of saying is similar in the fact that it's a single character that pays the power, and then other people get to move. Do you think? I mean, for me at least, there's a lot more flexibility with this, even though it is towards.
Yeah. Once again, this is an early game card, right? You're playing this round 1.
Yeah, it's not a turn 5 power play, is it?
Yeah, the thing that I find it most comparable to is Avengers Assemble, right? Now that's kind of the thing that it's set up to sort of parallel. It's very different, and
100%.
it has its niche uses where it is better, but 9 times out of 10, you'd rather you had Assemble. Like if you just had Avengers Assemble and it worked for your X-Men characters.
Right? Oh, you take that? Yeah. I mean, why would you not?
Yeah, but like with what you're presented with, it is real good. Like, especially because of that Cyclops leadership, and that is the context we're judging this card in. Because the moment you get more than one power on Cyclops as your leader, he's pulling 2 people.
Yep.
Suddenly, a little wiggle on Wolverine has become Wolverine goes forward, Domino gets pulled back. And so you're just like shifting the dynamics of things.
Yeah, the character who's got up and grabbed the objective can now get back to safety. Yeah. The murder ball gets to move closer to his prey. I think is an eloquent way of putting it.
First class on him gets to go stand at the very extent of one from a hammer forward, pick it up and charge someone.
Yeah. What are we thinking then in terms of ranking for this, Quinn?
It's S tier.
It is, but is it more S or less S than first class?
I think it is double S over first class.
I'd put it above it. I feel like it is. I feel like it is less situational than what first class is. Because even on Researcher, guess what? Getting Wolverine up there quicker is never a bad thing. So, yes. Quinn, let's move on to the Weapon X program. This is basically a throw for Wolverine. Only works on the OG Wolverine. Doesn't work on the new one. He throws himself. They take damage. He takes none. And I believe it's a short. Is it short or is it medium?
Sure. It's basically he pays 3 power to get pounce once in a game. It's not great.
Again, what it does is really nice. But is it worth a card? To your point, Quinn, of a threat system for the cards, and it costs 3 power as well. Maybe if it was
expensive than a pounce, yes, you're getting 1 extra damage off it base because of the size of Wolverine as a character, but you're getting to do it once the entire game. Pounce, you can do every round.
The only other thing it has going for it that makes it better than Pounce is it can be used outside of that character's turn.
Yeah, so, if you really, really want to, you can take Emma, Wolverine, and Colossus.
Fastball Special.
Just pay 4 power on Wolverine and 1 on Colossus to just go, hey, you. Take 4 damage twice. One of which you'll get to roll 2 dice less.
Yeah, right. Again, I like what it does, and we've seen this built into at least the new Sabretooth, haven't we? Where he has this built in. I like what it does.
Good
there. Absolutely. Yeah, I like what it does. For me, the opportunity cost is just a little bit too high. I don't, it's not a useless card like we've got down at the bottom here. I think it probably goes somewhere around here.
Where you're hovering it. I don't really care whether it's better than Pardon Me Sugar. You're not playing either of them.
That is fair. A card that is reliant on either of the Wolverines, either the original or Logan the Wolverine and Laura Kinney. Both pay 3, and whilst they are within 2 of each other, they cannot be pushed or thrown by enemy effects. They may reroll any number of attack dice that is on top of any rerolls that they've already got. And after an attack targeting either of them is resolved, the attacking character suffers 1 damage if it did not daze or KO the target character. This effect lasts until the end of the round. So they can be placed, which is important to note, but they can't be pushed and they can't be thrown.
It's very expensive for what it is.
I like this card, Quinn. It should have been... I feel like it should have been a combination of 3 power rather than it's been 6, or at the very most 4.
Make it 2 each, and, like, you can see yourself doing it.
On Gamma Researcher...
Oh, yeah.
On that middle point, or even better, guess what? On your opponent's back point. Like, yeah. But 6 power...
Rough.
It's just a bit rough, isn't it? It's a bit rough. Again, Quinn, it is helped by Scott's leadership, right? Because, they are going to have more power, but these two have got a lot of power things they want to spend power on. If she can, she wants to use her spender. He wants to be using best at what I am, the best at what I do with a Berserker Barrage if he can. Like, it's, I think they've got better things to spend power on. It's not useless. I think it goes higher than some of the other ones here in C tier is where I'm thinking for it.
It's probably like beneath Mind Transfer, I'd say. I think if you're gonna take, you play 2 simultaneous games, one where you take Wolverines, one where you take Mind Transfer. I think Mind Transfer has the greater chance to have a big impact.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Onto a... no, wrong one. Onto another card now, Quinn, which is pretty good. It's all right.
Yeah.
Exceptional healing. Just if you've got a character that's got a healing factor, they spend 3 power. No matter how much damage you do to them, they only take 1. It's fine. I mean, it's not fine, is it? It's not fine. It's not fine at all, is it? For me, Quinn,
I feel like you hate this card a little bit, don't you, Rich?
Do. Well, I like to murder things. You know what this card does, Quinn? It stops me from murdering things.
Not only that, but it then lets me murder the things that were trying to murder me.
This card is amazing. It's utterly amazing.
This card can change the course of games, and very regularly does.
Yeah. Especially when people forget you have it.
Forgetting you have it, or just they end up in a situation where no matter what they do, they cannot achieve their goal because of the existence of that card.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would go as far to say, Quinn, that even if you only have one character in your squad that has healing factor,
you're always going to have, because your base building blocks for a Scott team are Scott, then Wolverine.
Yeah. It is worth it. If you then add in multiple characters, usually in the form of X-23,
Laura, it's always in your 5. If you've just got Wolverine, it's debatable, but if you've got both, it's always in there, and there's no reason for it to not always be in there.
Just below first class is where I've put
it. I think that's fair, just because of how often you're going to take it.
Yeah. Very, very good card. If you're playing, and this extends outside of X-Men, Quinn, this statement, I feel. If you're playing characters with healing factor, there is no reason to not take exceptional healing. It's an utterly bonkers, crazy card.
I've played it a lot in my Hydra list, because that's a place
Strucker,
where, I play Laura, and Strucker has healing factor. Because of the very broad nature of it being healing factor characters, it just fits in so many places.
Yep. Well, and you almost find yourself in a position where, when you're looking at characters to fill out your roster, all of a sudden you're looking at the X-23s, you're looking at the Lizards, and characters who have that card, have that healing factor to increase the potential value of it as well. So, rounding it out, Quinn, just a little card, Xavier's Dream, right? Just a little card, doesn't do much. Uncanny X-Men, it's reactive. When an allied character would suffer damage, any number of other allied characters may each spend 1 power to play this card. So if you've got 5 characters, one of them is being attacked, 4 others can spend 4. For each power spent to play this card, reduce the amount of damage that allied character would suffer by 1.
There's no range limit on this card.
To no minimum either, Quinn.
This card isn't out yet.
This card is not out yet. This card is coming in the Charles Xavier and Shadow King box. I believe they're in a box together, aren't they?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Even with this card not being out, it is the highest of S tiers.
Yeah, with just things that you look for, Quinn, and you'll notice that the things that are guaranteed to happen get further and further up when it comes to how good a tactics card is, because they're consistent. This just, I mean, yeah, it is so good. The
worst part is, you don't even have to be an X-Men character.
You don't even need to be an X-Man. No, you don't need to be an X-Men.
It makes sense. Xavier's dream is like coexistence between, Homo sapien and the Homo superior, right?
Yep.
God, I say this as someone that is like now very much playing Scott X-Men, because that's the thing I found in the new world of MCP that I like. This card is dumb.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it?
Can you imagine playing against a lineup that has all 4 of those S-tier cards in it and is running Wolverine and Laura?
Yep, and you know what? Probably takes a fastball special for some fun as well.
Yeah, probably takes a patch up, let's be honest.
Yeah, do you know what? It probably... No, brace. He probably is patch up. Yeah, this card is very, very good. Just stopping damage. Like, it can be absolutely huge. Yeah, it just is. It just is absolutely.
It's also the fact that, because you're playing under Scott's leadership and you're giving out that extra power, you're not even going to notice that you've paid for it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, Quinn, there we go. That is our breakdown of all things X-Men. Before we do go, I wanted to mention one of the tactics card, and we spoke about it already. We didn't include it in this list because, we weren't just including all cards. But in the new world of, Wolverine being good now, no matter the cost, I think is definitely up there in cards for X-Men right now. Again, taking Laura also doubles the value of that card because you've got 2 characters that you can spend it on as well, haven't you?
I mean, in a pinch, it's good on Scott for an Optic Devastation. It's pretty damn good on an Emma Frost for a hands-off.
Yeah. Okay, guys, so the video that we picked was the Mini Extravaganza 2023 breakdown, winners and losers, and then the card pack 2024 breakdown as well, little tier list thing that we did along with some other stuff. So let's see who the lucky winner is going to be, and it's going to be Ian Marley. Ian Marley, congratulations, buddy. You have won yourself a Marvel Crisis Protocol core box. All you need to do is message me on the about page of my channel or drop me a DM on Discord and we will organise and get that sent out to you. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that video, guys. Big congratulations to Ian. If you could do all of the usual things, guys, like, subscribe, comment, it really does help. Let us know down in the comment section below which of the tactics cards you like to take. Also, a big shout out to our Patreons. There'll be a link down in the description below where from as little as £1 a month you can help support us, support the channel and help support the things that we do on here. But you don't need to support us on Patreon. As I mentioned, if you do any of those three things, like, comment, subscribe, and also share it as well, it really, really does help. Guys, we're going to leave it for there. We're going to have lots of new content coming out for MCP. I'm about to get my hands on the brand new core box. Fingers crossed the day that this video comes out. So we'll probably do some unboxings, some early thoughts on what we get in the box, etc., etc. And then some other content around the characters that come in that box as well. Really happy to see that the new Winter Soldier has made it into the Winter Guard as well. That one I am most definitely looking forward to. But as always, guys, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.